Hi, folks. Mark Murphy with TravelTube.com, the place for travel experts. I mean, that's what we are. We're the Travel Expert Channel. If you want the exact tagline, the Travel Expert Channel. What I try to do here is I try to bring together the knowledge of travel agents and also influencers that are going around the world exploring properties, exploring destinations, and then bring it to you so that you don't have to be everywhere if you're a travel agent. You just have to come to traveltube.com and learn from folks just like you who might be in Maui or the Dominican Republic or Mexico, while let's say you're in New York City or you're in London or whatever you happen to be doing. Today, I've got Scott Lara, who is the president of militaryaffairs.com and also the cruise genius at thecruisegenius.com. So let me pull Scott up, bring him onto the stage. Here he comes. There he is. And Scott, welcome to traveltube.com. This is your second time on.
Mark, thank you very much. And thank you for what you're doing with TravelTube, because that's exactly right. Travel agents need input. They need to hear from other travel agents. And you and I have both talked about this. You know, back in our day, I remember in Chicago, one of the suburbs, every corner had a travel agency, right? You'd walk in, they'd be playing the Hawaiian music. They'd have the lei on you. They see all the brochures. Yep. And those days are long gone. And now they're going online, whatever they do, and they don't have that personal touch. And that's why I'm glad TravelTube is here for folks like me and other folks in the industry to share with to encourage our fellow travel agents to be out there and to share our experiences with the public.
Absolutely. And I think that that's really important. And you know what? There's a lot of knowledge that's scattered throughout the brains of travel agents. And if we can bring it together, I think that's your best source of news and information. Because the thing I talked about not that long ago, a few episodes ago, I talked about how news, when you think about travel news, there's two types of travel news. Travel news one that the networks love is somebody died, plane crash, cruise ship sinks, not good news. And that gets like the millions and millions of views. The thing that most travel news is a hotel resort opening, or how to sell a certain product, or a destination is investing in tourism or whatever. But I call it like the PR blitz. And I would get, and still to this day, I still get lots of PR emails talking about this new feature, that new feature, and that's like 95% of it. So I think it's great that you come on and others. I do encourage folks who have not requested an interview. Hey, you know what? If you're a travel agent and you've got experience doing something recently, I would love to share that experience with other agents. And it also reaches consumers because I have over 100,000 followers on social media. And this interview and interviews like it will show up and get viewed in part or parcel, because we break the clips up 10,000 times in a couple of weeks after it goes live. So that's the value of it. So certainly reach out if you're a travel advisor, travel agent. I hate the term travel advisor. That's the other thing I hate, because people don't go online and say, let me find a travel advisor. In their brain, they're saying travel agent. And the ratio is over 5-to-1, but the industry's kind of stuck on advisor. It makes you feel good. But at the end of the day, I'd rather sell more travel if I'm a travel agent than feel good about what's on my business card or how people address me. That's you
make a very good point on that, because as a member of the media like you are, I always get the calls on the bad stuff. I remember when the Costa Concordia hit the rocks, I got like 10 calls. Talking about passport delays, get the call on that. The $45 real ID, get the call on that. But when good stuff happens, you and I usually don't get those calls. It's usually the bad stuff. And you're exactly right. The PR side of it as well. When like MSC World America, when they were rolling out that new ship, I got the call.
Exactly.
Icon of the Seas, I got the call. For the brands to get the word out to, and like I have 1.5 million views on my YouTube channel. I've been on my local TV station here many times, just like you, being that resource for the media. But being a resource for other travel agents and giving back like that, I think it's critical.
Absolutely. No, it's a great point. Now, you just got back from visiting a property in the Dominican Republic, and it's the Grand Palladium there in Punta Cana. So what I want to get is sort of like your initial perspective. what did you like about the property? What drew you what drew your eyes immediately? And then let's get into some of the details on it.
Absolutely. Well, Grand Palladium, they have several properties around the world, basically. Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Cancun up in north is Costa Mujeres, and south is Riviera Maya, and they have Puerto Vallarta. And so I've been to Puerto Vallarta, and I've been to their one up in Costa Mujeres, talking about family selection. And as a grandfather, I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old grandson and a little 2-year-old granddaughter. And so Grand Palladium Bavaro, they just opened up their family selection, and they reached out to me and said, hey, Scott, we'd like you to come down and take a look at it. So I did. Absolutely beautiful property. The beach was amazing. The restaurants were great. They have kids clubs where the kids, if they want, if the parents want the kids to go on to these activities. And the secret is that the parents can go down to TRS, which is the adults only property, just about a 15-minute walk down the beach, and they can access Helios, which is their Ibiza-style eatery right there on the water, or you can eat inside, and you can experience the other TRS restaurants like La Bohème, which is the French restaurant. So definitely, if you're a parent or a grandparent and you want to go on vacation, there are a lot of options out there. And with Grand Palladium rolling out their family selection, it's just, I really enjoyed it.
Give me some of the details on the family selection, like exactly what that is.
Well, there's this huge building there. It looks like a pirate ship where the kids can go during the day, like from babies to teenagers. And they have these activities, treasure hunts, that kind of stuff. They feed them. And the fact of the matter is, Mark, you and I could talk about this where, parents will go on a cruise, right? They'll go on a shore excursion and leave their kids in the kids club on the ship. Now, I'm against that because if, God forbid, the ship leaves without you, you're not on ship's time, and your kids are in the kids club, what are you going to do? Some people could say that's irresponsible to do that, whatever. But
well, hold on. Time out. Depends on how much you like your kids.
Exactly. And so the thing is, I mean, if I was on a cruise with my 8 and 6-year-old grandsons, my wife and I would not be going out on a shore excursion, right? But with the Palladium, at least you're on this, I mean, you can leave them in the kids club. You can go to Hacienda Park and ride the dune buggies and go zip lining like I did, if you want to do that. But the fact of the matter is yes, you can leave your kids in the kids club pretty much from 8 to 5. They will watch your kids. They'll take them to lunch. Just tell them the kids' allergies. You'll be good to go. But there's lots of stuff for kids to do and lots of pool activities too, where they'll get the kids and they'll do activities, which is really fun.
That's pretty cool. And what is TRS? I mean, I know what TRS is. So just everybody knows, I do know what TRS is. I've been to the Grand Palladiums, not this particular property, but tell them a little bit about the TRS product.
Well, now I'm giving a super secret tip away. TRS stands for the Royal Suites. And they've been around for a long time. And TRS is your adults only property under the Palladium Hotel Group umbrella. And so when you go to TRS, it's totally upscale, Mark. I mean, it is, you got Helios, which is right there on the beaches on the properties. They have buffet or sit down. You can do either or. And they have specialty restaurants, kind of like, when you go on Holland America, you have like the Pinnacle Grill and so it's kind of like that. There are these special restaurants that are no extra charge. And my favorite is La Bohème, which is the French restaurant. And I always get the Chateaubriand, and I also get the French onion soup. And then over at TRS, they have Chic Cabaret, which is a place there you go, Chic Cabaret. Again, a lot of music, a lot of dancing, and they have like a 6 or 7 course meal that you're enjoying during this show. And these shows are off the chain. This gentleman by the name of Ricardo Canales there with Palladium has done an outstanding job with Chic and with their sister production Bingo. And so, if you want to enjoy an adult show where it's, as the Brits would say, it's a little cheeky, if you will, but very, very tasteful. These folks are up on stage dancing, singing. One of my favorite numbers is "This is the Greatest Show," and it's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Now, what people don't understand is like when they see something like this, they see, okay, there's 3 hotels. Are they next to each other? Are they, you have
That's
to
exactly right. That's exactly right, Mark. You better bring your walking shoes because at Grand Palladium Riviera Maya, you have White Sand, you have Quintana, and you have TRS Yucatan. Over in north of Cancun, you have TRS Coral and Grand Palladium Costa Mujeres. And then here at TRS Turquesa, that's the adults only venue there in Punta Cana. And you have Grand Palladium Punta Cana, you have Grand Palladium Bavaro Select, you have Grand Palladium Bavaro Select Family Selection. And so at this location, Punta Cana, is like 5, resorts right next to each other. You can walk, boom, 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 right down the beach. And it's big, I will tell you that.
And depending on your wristband, if you would, like if I'm in TRS, I can kind of go everywhere, right?
That's absolutely correct. If you have a TRS wristband, you can go to any restaurant, any location, any bar. Now, the only caveat is the members club, and you have the Palladium Travel Club, and people pay extra money for that. You get free transportation, you get maybe a free massage, you get a free shore excursion, but there's a whole lot of details on Palladium Travel Club that we don't need to get into on this, that people can Google it. But, if you're just a regular person going to Palladium or going to TRS, you have a great vacation. And I've been to all of them. I've been to Puerto Vallarta, the 2 in Cancun. I've been to Jamaica and Punta Cana several times. And the number one question I get, Mark, is what's your favorite resort? And my answer is wherever I'm standing in the resort at that time, I'll say. But Riviera Maya is one of my favorites because I'm light-skinned. I got to be in the shade. The wife wants me to take care of my skin. So Riviera Maya is my favorite. There's a lot of shade there. But Punta Cana, with that family selection, it's really great for families.
And what do you say to people that are concerned about safety in places like the Dominican Republic?
Mark, you've commented on this many times. And folks, I encourage you to watch Mark on his channels when he talks about this. And kind of paraphrasing, the media makes this thing out like death and destruction. I grew up right outside of Chicago. You can go to any city and there's going to be crime. There's going to be issues. Mark, I don't know if you reported on this or not, but about Grenada, there's now an alert out about Grenada. And I've been to Grenada when I was in the Navy and as a civilian. And the media kind of hypes this stuff up.
Yep.
And all I recommend to people, and I'm sure you do too, is have your wits about you. Don't be wearing fine jewelry. Don't be wearing all this stuff. Try not to dress like don't act like a tourist. Don't just walk around, blindly. As you know, I just came off of 2 river cruises this past year. I'm a Waterways and Riviera Travel. And when I'm in Germany and these countries, you protect your passport, you protect your money. Mm-hmm. We all know about Italy, right? About the pickpockets in Italy. So, here's the deal to the audience, and this is the travel agents. Let me talk to you a minute. If you have clients that are just scared to death, oh my gosh, I'm alone, but stay home. Stay home. If you're afraid, fine, live in your town, wherever you live. But I'll tell you, Mark, it's a 400 trillion to 1 shot that we are in these suits, these bodysuits. And the one thing I've been telling a lot of people is the number one poison out there is regret. You don't want to be sitting in a nursing home at 80 and 90 years old saying, I wish I went on a river cruise, or I wish I went somewhere. You can stay in your bubble. But I will tell you, when you hear this stuff about, Nassau or Dominican Republic or even Grenada, it is safe to travel, for the major places that tourism is. Just have your wits about you.
Yeah, and I would say that if you're going to a place like Punta Cana, just so everybody knows, it is guarded and gated just to get into Punta Cana. So if you're in Punta Cana, you're already behind a large wall, right? Because what we know is actually walls work to keep people out. In Berlin, it kept people in, right? So, there are 2 ways for that to go, but it keeps people out. You have to go through a gate. There's armed security, right? And at the same time, when you go to the property, you've got staff and you've got security, and people aren't just coming around and trying to sell you stuff, because you can't get into Punta Cana as a destination, the entire area, which has multiple resorts. And then when you're there at the property level, you've got another layer. So, yeah, I mean, you are safer going to the Dominican Republic and staying in Punta Cana than you are in my case. I'm sitting here in Fort Lauderdale. If I go out and pick up a sandwich for lunch, trust me, I'm safer in Punta Cana than I am driving down to Lauderdale by the sea to get a sandwich.
You make a very good point on that. And again, it's the media, it's kind of like weather.com, right? If there's a hurricane coming, and God bless Jim Cantori and all those guys, love you, but they actually look depressed when the hurricane doesn't hit. And it's the same way. You have to understand the media, folks. They live on death, destruction, murder, all this stuff. And so you got to really take the media with a grain of salt and talk to your travel agent. Talk to me, talk to Mark. We're available. We'd be happy to talk to you about these locations. Now, I will say Haiti. I won't go back to Haiti. I mean, there's just things about it I don't like. I mean, Nassau, it's improved quite a bit over the last couple of years. The State Department had a warning on that where, I'd be on a cruise ship and they'd say, okay, but again, just keep your wits about you. Keep your common sense. Just like when I was in Germany, you protect yourself, right? And you protect your wife or your spouse or your grandkids.
Right. Well, it's funny. North Korea is not really safe for Americans, and I don't think I'm going to put that on my bucket list today. I do enjoy some of the State Department warnings, or when countries that you can't pronounce the name that you would never travel to because there is no tourism there. They say, oh, no, Americans are not welcome here. We're going to do a reverse ban on, if we're banned from America, we're going to ban you. And again, it's like most places, when you see these State Department warnings, it's important to pay attention, sign up for the STEP program, which means that, there's a record of where you're going, where you're staying, et cetera. And there's resources connected to that. Right. So that's through the State Department. You can just look up STEP, just type in STEP, State Department, and follow that as a traveler. But it is interesting when people are worried about things and going places and they can't understand geography. They don't understand that if something's going on here at the border, the southern border, let's say with Mexico, right, that if you're staying in Cancun, that has nothing to do with it. To get there by land is about 1,500 miles. So don't sweat it. There's so much negativity, as you mentioned, in the consumer media. That's why they say if it bleeds, it leads. And that's what I get called about, right? Or right. I get the fluff call, which is, hey, whatever, Easter's coming up, spring break's coming up, what should people do? It's typically the Friday before Easter, so it's a little late for that. But, that's because the main anchors might be on vacation and there's not a lot of breaking news. So they got to fill those 24-hour news cycles. So keep that in mind. You rarely see good news when it comes to travel. No one is coming to the Port Everglades to interview people about the fantastic cruise they just had, or going to the airport and, hey, wasn't that wonderful? Where'd you just come in from? How was it? It doesn't happen.
Mark, you and I are old enough to remember the Carnival Triumph, the poop cruise. Yep. And I will never forget the CNN folks there on the pier when the folks came in, and the one lady in the Carnival bathrobe coming off the ship and kissing the ground. Oh, we made it home. We made it home. And nobody wants to say the other Carnival ships were there with the Wi-Fi. They were getting food over to them. And yes, and then you hear about cruise from hell, totally overblown. And so all I recommend is to the folks out there, just take it with a grain of salt, get out there and travel, be mindful about where you want to go. Like, Punta Cana, no problem at all. And Mark's exactly right. When I went there, there's security, go through security, and I felt totally secure. Now, Roatan, I mean, that was something too. When I got off the ship in Roatan one time, you got guys with like guns standing outside the gate there of the cruise port. And so Roatan is interesting, but everywhere else I've been, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, Martinique, St. Barth, St. Kitts, St. Thomas, San Juan, Puerto Rico, I would go there tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, and for folks who don't have a good grasp on geography of Roatan, where is it located?
Oh, that's the, now you just caught me off the top of my head. That's, Mark, what is the name of that?
Is it the B?
I'm sorry?
Does it begin with a B?
V, I don't know. No, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, we'll pull it up for folks.
Okay, yeah, because you just caught me off. I got a blonde moment.
That's
Roatan.
Hang on, I'll get it for you.
You're good. You're good. This is live, folks. This is how we do it.
Tell me if this looks correct. So hang on, here we go. I'm going to pull up a nice picture for you.
And I've been to Roatan a couple times. A couple of years ago, a cruise ship actually ran aground in Roatan.
So here you go. I'll just show you this one. These are a bunch of pictures.
British Virgin Islands, is that it?
No.
BWI?
Not even close, bro. Does it begin with an A, a B, a C, a D, an E, an F, a G? No, it begins with an H. It begins. Hold on. Where are we?
Stick with us, folks.
Okay, where does it begin?
I can't see it on my screen.
All right, so we've got Roatan in Honduras.
Honduras.
Yeah, the Royal Caribbean. You probably were there on a Royal Caribbean ship.
I forget. I mean, they all become but it was Honduras. That's correct.
Beautiful beaches, beautiful water. And have you been to Belize?
I have been to Belize. Now, Belize was interesting. Mark, you know this person's name, Samantha Brown.
Yep.
She had been there and she did a video from there where she was actually scared. And I've never seen Samantha Brown scared. And so, yes, I've been to Belize. Yes, I actually did the tubing or something there. And the reason I was there 2 times. One, a friend of mine was graduating from medical school in Belize. And the second time I was there on a cruise.
Okay. And if you take a look at this, Belize has amazing diving. It's an incredible destination. A lot of Americans are going to Belize as an expat. So,
right.
I have a person who used to work for me who actually lives there now full time and absolutely loves it. And the cost of living is great. So it's definitely a fun spot, and she really enjoys it. So yeah, so it's interesting. Have you ever been to Nicaragua?
I haven't been to Nicaragua. I've been to Cuba when I was in the Navy. I was at Guantanamo Bay, so I've been there.
When did they release you from Guantanamo Bay?
Well, I was in the Navy from 79 to 88, so I was down there around 81 or 82 for refresher training. But I tell you what a place Cuba is, and the number one reason I'd want to go there as a tourist is because of those classic cars. Those are just amazing. Seeing those old 57 Chevys driving around, very cool.
Yep. Have you been to Colombia?
I've not been to Colombia, and it's not a 10 on my list for Colombia. I mean, if you were to ask me, Scott, where do you want to go? I want to go to Bora Bora, because everybody that I've talked to have been there. It looks like a postcard. There's not a lot to do there. Well, I mean, that is a total bucket list for me. I think if Fred Olson is over there, they sail in Bora Bora, but I think that'd be a pretty cool place to go.
So I've been to Bora Bora. I stayed at the St. Regis in an overwater bungalow, and it was phenomenal. But bring your bullion, your gold, because it is not cheap, man. It is crazy expensive, and it's an unbelievable trip. And for folks who've never been to Bora Bora or look at it, it does look like a postcard. You're out, you're in this big overwater bungalow. You've got the light down, lighting up the water at night. You can see down through your, through the plexiglass in the floor of your bungalow. You can swim off the back. You've got a plunge pool. It's phenomenal. But then you also can go out and you can feed sharks and stingrays and get in the water with them. You can do some hiking there. You can go across to the main island and you can have a nice, wonderful dinner. But I just remember it was probably something like, I think I spent $700-800 a day just on food and beverage. And it wasn't like, I'm a pretty skinny guy. It wasn't like, cleaning the place out. And that was for me and my wife. And that was, probably 12 years ago. So you got to bring the bucks, but it's worth saving up for. And I would definitely recommend that experience.
I did want to touch on JetBlue a second. You and I talked before the show about my experience with that. Mark, the airlines have changed over the years. I mean, back in the day, even Southwest changed their seating. But folks, I want to keep you aware of what's going on with JetBlue. And I don't know if this is conspiracy or not, but 2 weeks before I flew to Punta Cana, I bought my seat. I bought 16D, which is right over the wing, and it's an aisle seat. So I wanted to make sure I had it. I don't want a middle seat, between two people. So it was interesting. I was actually traveling with my son-in-law, and my son-in-law did not buy his seat ahead of time. He just waited till he got there at the gate at Orlando. And so he gets to the gate. I got my boarding pass. He doesn't have one. Okay, well, I didn't buy my seat. And they gave him 6D. Now, if I would have bought 6D, it would have been like $89. And JetBlue, I love you. I think you're great. But it really upset me, Mark, and you tell me if I'm wrong. But here I pay $19 for a seat, and my son-in-law just walks up and he gets a better seat than I do. Now, is that a 10? No. But I like to be as front up there, to get off early. Everyone knows that when you're in the back of the bus, it's taking people forever to open those things and to go. They're slower than molasses.
Right.
Let's go, man. I don't know how TSA or the airlines or Department of Homeland Security could ever expect people to get off a plane quick with how slow people move. But that's another story. And so here my son-in-law's up in 6D and he's walking off the plane and he's waiting for me. But I just think, and then I read somewhere, I guess it was ChatGPT, yes, JetBlue saves the good seats, for people who just walk up. But I just think that's not right. But Mark, what are your thoughts on that?
So what I would say is if the plane had a bunch of open seats and they just, they're trying to, give the guy a good experience, I can't really fault them for that. But then again, they're going to condition your son-in-law that he never has to pay that incremental charge, right? Because he'll get a better option. You chose the seat you chose. You could have chosen 6D, right?
Yes.
It was available. You chose not to choose that, but you paid the upgrade for the seat in the exit row, which I would prefer an exit row, frankly, to being in 6D.
Right.
Because even though I assume it had extra leg room in 6D as well.
Yes.
Right. So I think that was their way of saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, we got an extra seat. It's a good one. Let me put you up there. They just did a favor. So he's happy. He's going to be more loyal. If you didn't know who he was, you would have no idea. Right. And I would say it's akin to being on a plane where, I booked today for a flight tonight and I'm paying $1,300 for this flight. You booked 3 months ago and you're paying $99. Can I be mad at you? No, because that's revenue management. So I would say that understanding how he got a freebie and you had to pay for your upgrade is annoying. But at the same time, if the seat was open, you probably had a gate agent who was trying to do him a favor. Now, I hope he wasn't hitting on the gate agent because he's married to your daughter. So that would be a problem. But other than that, I think that's how you got to look at it.
Well, and the thing about JetBlue, now, folks, I know some of you are on Twitter, some of you are not, but people like Mark and I, and I'll say this, if we're having a bad experience, we will go on Twitter and we will tweet either JetBlue or Delta or American and say what kind of an issue we had with X, Y, or Z. This is a huge scam that's out there, and I think the media really needs to pick up on this. I tweeted JetBlue, @JetBlue, and I did #JetBlue, and I commented about this seat issue. Well, a fake Twitter account like customer service, I think that customer service _JetBlue, said, give us your flight number, give us your WhatsApp number. We want to make this right. Well, it was fake. It was somebody, it wasn't even JetBlue. And so, folks, I'm warning you, and travel agents, you may want to advise your clients if they're on Twitter, if they think they can complain on Twitter about customer service, and I've done it 100 times with American, with Carnival, where I've tweeted, and with myself and Mark, who we are, they're definitely going to answer. But the thing is that you got to be aware of these scammers who are going to try to tweet you back, say they're customer service, and then try to get your information. And what they were trying to do they were trying, you know what PayPal is or Venmo is.
Of course.
Well, they were pushing me to a foreign banking entity for me to register.
Yep.
And once I registered for this foreign banking entity, they were going to send me money. Well, I knew right then that this was a scam. So please be aware of that.
So and that also very much, probably even more so, applies to emails. A lot of times people get an email because they signed up for like a clothing line or whatever, a store, something that they had purchased, and they'll get an email and it'll say it's from that particular company. They'll click on the link and they'll be like, oh my God, an amazing sale. And they'll buy a bunch of product. They'll put it in the shopping cart. The site is the same, exactly the same. And if they're not looking closely at the email, I always tell like family members, everything, look at the from. It'll say Amazon Web Services or whatever. It'll say Vuari Clothing. But when you look at the actual email,
right,
it's not from them.
Correct.
Because their URL is vuari.com or the URL is amazon.com or whatever it happens to be. It'll be like amazon.this.whatever.com. And you're getting scammed. I forget the term for it.
Phishing?
Yeah, that's probably phishing. I would think so. Pretending that they're a different site, but to actually literally build the website to mimic the other site to then get you to use PayPal. And then there's no recourse for you to get your money back. Right. If you use it through a credit card company, you can report it to the credit card company, call it fraud, and they will try to reverse the charges. They will reverse them for you typically. But that's a very, very common thing. And people do get ripped off. So you're bringing it to X.com, which is also formerly known as Twitter. We're all stuck on Twitter because that's how we knew it for so many years. But great advice. I appreciate you coming on and chatting me up here, brother. So safe travels. Let me know on your next adventure what your thoughts are, and we can get you back online.
And just to do a shameless plug, thecruisegenius.com. You find me there for all my cruise stuff. And Military Fairs, FARES, militaryfairs.com. I'm the president of that company, giving great deals on travel for veterans and for members of the military. Mark, I appreciate you. Thank you for all you've done all these many years in the travel space. And thanks so much for Travel Tube.
You're welcome, Scott. Take care. All right. That was Scott Lara, president of militaryfairs.com and thecruisegenius.com. So check him out on his websites and follow him on social media. And until next time, I'm Mark Murphy, traveltube.com. Follow us everywhere you listen to podcasts and on all the social media platforms. That's where you'll see this video and others. Of course, register on traveltube.com and opt into our weekly newsletter, and we'll send you the latest and greatest insights from travel experts around the globe. Till next time.